Tonight, the Australian stock market sheds $90 billion as the conflict in the Middle East sends oil prices skyrocketing. And Iran names the late Ayatollah's son as its new supreme leader. Hello, I'm Pamela Medlen. This is ABC News. The Premier says his electorate of Kwinana will still be a priority after moving to the inner city. A new tourist tax to visit the 12 Apostles on Victoria's Great Ocean Road. And this season's muster dog champion on discovering her passion and purpose on the farm. The war in the Middle East has sent the price of oil soaring, raising fears of it reigniting inflation and prolonged pain at the petrol pump. Strikes on oil production and storage facilities in Tehran and across the Gulf have markets in a tailspin. Australia's had its worst day on the ASX since Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day. The sharp sell-off shedding $120 billion at one stage. And the price of oil has been surging towards $120 a barrel at one point, up 25% in a day. And there's no end in sight to the crisis, with Iran appointing a hardliner as its new supreme leader in a message of defiance to the United States. We begin our coverage of the war tonight with Chief Business Correspondent Ian Verinder.
Roads lined with flames and pillars of fire over Tehran. Daylight revealing the impact of Israeli strikes on a major oil depot that's still burning and now raining oil onto the city's residents.
But you can see that the rain water is actually black, also saturated with oil.
Across the Gulf, energy and oil infrastructure has been pounded. From Kuwait to Saudi Arabia, scenes of destruction that have markets in a tailspin. And the price at the pump rapidly ticking up.
I used to fill it with $60 and now it's like $80.
We pulled up and it was $2.46, and when I filled up in the morning it was $3.
US President Donald Trump says the oil price pain is a very small price to pay, claiming they will drop rapidly when the war is over. Cold comfort for farmers across Australia.
I can't believe the diesel's already over $2 a litre. This is crazy.
The national average for diesel is now $2.21 a litre, and around the country, petrol now ranges from just under $2 a litre on average to $2.17.
Every action is possible is being taken to help Australians and Australian farmers and Australian industry.
It's not unusual for markets to act and behave like a deer in the headlights, waiting for the train to hit.
As we saw during Russia's invasion of Ukraine, fuel prices drive inflation. It took 3 years and 13 rate hikes to bring that price spike to heel.
We're also seeing higher prices for gas, for LNG, and this is causing concern that electricity prices are going to increase and skyrocket again in Australia.
National Australia Bank is predicting that this oil supply shock could send inflation up to 5%. This creates an enormous dilemma for the Reserve Bank. Higher fuel and electricity prices takes money out of people's pockets, reigniting the cost of living crisis. But it may be forced to jack up rates just to keep inflation in check. A bitter pill for the nation's more than 3 million mortgage holders. Ian Verinder, ABC News.
It's not just the price of oil and gas that's surging. The crisis in the Middle East is expected to start impacting the price of food and the cost to ship it around the world. Here's Alan Kohler.
Over the weekend, investors went from worrying to panicking. And when the market opened this morning, they were selling for whatever they could get and then kept panicking as the morning wore on. At lunchtime, beachcombers moved in looking for jewels in the Jetsam and prices rose a bit. And in the end, the market fell a bit less than 3%, with miners and banks hardest hit, led by BHP, which definitely wouldn't have fallen as much if it hadn't got rid of its petroleum division. Petroleum stocks, Woodside and Santos, were the only ones to go up. What investors are freaking out about is the possibility of stagflation, which is a combination of recession and high inflation, which is what happens when inflation is caused by a supply shock. as in the 1970s. In those years, in real terms, that is after inflation, the share market fell 74% and the bear market lasted for 4 years. Stagflation is toxic for share prices because not only do company profits fall with the economy, but long-term interest rates go up as well, reducing the valuation of those profits. A double whammy for prices. It's not just the oil price that's going up this time, but also jet fuel, which will push up airfares, the price of LNG and, importantly, the cost of shipping it, up more than 500%. Urea, which will push up the price of fertiliser and therefore food, and naphtha, which will push up the price of plastics. To say that the closure of the Persian Gulf is a big deal for the global economy and markets is an understatement, especially for Japan and Korea, where share prices fell the most today. The US market fell on Friday mainly because jobs fell 92,000 in February, reversing the big rise in January. The US economy has created no extra jobs for 12 months, but economists don't know whether that's because of Donald Trump or AI, or both. Here's a roundup of the commodity prices, and you know things are bad when even the safe havens, gold and silver, are unsafe. And food prices are starting to move. Wheat and cocoa up more than 5%, sugar 2.8%. Finally, tonight's anticlimax. The Aussie dollar is unchanged at 70 US cents. And that's finance.
Alan Kohler there, and there are concerns the war could run longer, with the regime selecting a hardliner as the nation's new supreme leader. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son has been named as his replacement, an outcome the US president had warned would be unacceptable.
Celebrations on the streets of Tehran. Supporters of the Iranian regime heralding the appointment of a new supreme leader. More than a week after Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was assassinated, his son Mojtaba Khamenei has been chosen as his successor. The 56-year-old hardliner is expected to carry on his father's legacy.
Thank God someone became the leader who we are confident will avenge the blood of his father and will not compromise with America.
That sentiment not echoed everywhere. Death to Mojtaba. People in Tehran can be heard yelling in this video. The announcement was made as the Iranian capital was still dealing with the fallout from Israeli strikes on oil facilities. Authorities warning residents of thick polluted air and acidic rain. One woman sent the ABC this voice note.
Tehran has taken so much smoke that we can't properly see anywhere. The attacks have been this intense.
Another Iranian telling the ABC over text message, the air has grown heavy. Cars and houses are covered with soot. It feels as if black rain is falling from the sky.
Target destroyed.
Gulf states continue to bear the brunt of Iran's response. The United Arab Emirates releasing footage of its air defences downing Iranian drones.
Target destroyed.
As leaders across the region sharpened their public criticism.
We deeply regret the unprecedented and unjustifiable attacks perpetrated by Iran.
We never expected this to come to us from our neighbours. It is a big sense of betrayal.
Iran has also fired barrages of missiles at Israel. Most were intercepted, but one hit a residential street in Tel Aviv. To the north, the Israeli military is intensifying its attacks on Lebanon, hitting a hotel in the heart of Beirut and killing members of Iran's Revolutionary Guard.
I tell you that there is no safe place for the Iranian branches of evil anywhere in the Middle East.
The death toll from Israeli attacks across Lebanon is climbing towards 400, including more than 80 children. The conflict prompting tens of thousands of Syrians who'd been living in the country to flee.
We don't have a house, nothing at all. We're going without knowing where we'll stay.
Uncertainty on the other side of the border, preferable to the danger they're leaving behind.
And Matthew Doran is in Jerusalem for us tonight. Matthew, Donald Trump has previously warned that any new Supreme Leader wouldn't last long without his approval. Have we heard from the US President?
Pamela, good evening. We have heard through Fox News that he is reportedly not happy with the appointment of Mojtaba Khamenei.
It has to be stressed, though, that Donald Trump's insistence he was going to be involved in the appointment of this new Supreme Leader was always going to be a stretch. This is a very different situation to, say, Venezuela, where the US has tried to enact regime change and has been praising the new leader there in the weeks since it replaced or took out the President Nicolas Maduro there. The decision by the Assembly of Experts in Iran to appoint a new Supreme Leader so quickly is a reflection of the Iranian regime wanting to show it is still in power. That is despite the week and a half or so of intense bombardment from the US and Israel. It is also a reflection of the view that people like the Iranian president do not call the shots. The Supreme Leader has the power here. Now, Mojtaba Khamenei, he is something of a known entity. He has been around the leadership for some time, so the US and Israel will have something of an idea as to what to expect. But when it comes to ending this conflict, Donald Trump has said that that would be a decision taken in conjunction with Benjamin Netanyahu. And given the Israeli government says any new Supreme Leader will be a target for its strikes, you'd have to say, Pamela, that this conflict has a long way to run.
The Iranian community in Australia is becoming increasingly worried about the fate of the country's women's soccer team if they return to the war-torn country. Supporters are calling on the government to grant the team members asylum. But with the team under a strict lockdown and due to leave the country any day, their future is unclear.
They've really put their hearts on their sleeves.
The tournament is over for Iran, but the drama is only just beginning. Supporters surrounding the Iranian team bus as they leave their final Asian Cup match on the Gold Coast, warning they could face punishment if they're returned home. The fears arose after this moment. What's being viewed as a silent protest when players refused to sing the national anthem in their opening match. The reaction from the regime was scathing. Traitors during wartime should be dealt with severely, this state media presenter said.
So we don't know if these girls are going to be arrested, if their family is going to be under more pressure, if they're going to be executed, if they're going to be sexually assaulted.
Our responsibility now is to continue to work as hard as we can on the AFC, FIFA and also the Australian government to ensure that every bit of pressure is applied to make sure that the players are safe.
The exiled Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, has also weighed in, writing, "I call on the Australian government to ensure their safety and give them any and all needed support."
If asylum is requested, I have confidence that the government will give it due consideration.
Decisions on visa matters are made by Home Affairs, and where it's appropriate to do so, we'll be providing further information.
The players have been kept under a strict lockdown, so it's uncertain whether they want to seek asylum in Australia. In any case, they're in an invidious position. If they do seek asylum, there are fears their families in Iran could be persecuted. If they return, they could be persecuted. Even the question of how they'd go back to Iran is uncertain, except that it would involve a long and dangerous overland journey. With the players due to leave the country any day, the future for Iran's women's soccer team is desperate and uncertain. David Mark, ABC News.
Time for a weather check. Tabarak Jrood is here, and Tabarak, you've been checking out some unusual clouds we've been seeing.
Yeah, we've had some pretty interesting ones recently. Now, clouds can be picturesque or a sign that the weather is about to turn, but yesterday Perth was blanketed with these cool clouds, which are called alticumulus, also known as a mackerel sky, because of the scaly pattern. Now, these clouds form in the middle levels of the atmosphere where layers of air are moving at different speeds, and so when air rises, clouds form, and where it sinks, clear gaps appear, which result in this cool ripple pattern. Now, they're mostly associated with settled weather, but can sometimes signal possible showers on the way, which we could be getting tomorrow. I'll have more details soon.
Premier Roger Cook has explained his reasons for moving out of his Kwinana electorate to live in the inner city. He says he wants to spend less time travelling and more time working, denying gridlock on the Kwinana freeway played any part in his decision.
For years, Premier Roger Cook has been telling us that he's
a Kwinana local and a dad. I'm a daggy dad from Kwinana. As a dad from Kwinana, I understand just how important this sort of transport infrastructure is.
It's become an important part of the Premier's profile as an outer suburban family man. But now that transport issue has become a stretch too far for the long-time Kwinana MP and his wife.
Carly and I have had discussions over the last few months about the fact that we are spending a lot of time travelling.
They've decided to move to West Perth, close to Mr Cook's office and Parliament.
I think people would appreciate the opportunity to be close to my office so that I can apply myself even more.
At the cafe where the Premier recaffeinated the morning after last year's election win.
Oh, cheers, yeah.
Understanding from some locals.
Obviously it wouldn't be easy for him having early morning meetings and then late at night. That's not much fun.
I like the area, but I don't blame him. The Kwinana Freeway, it's a joke. It's been a joke for 25 years.
Well, I reckon it's closer to work, isn't it? I reckon it's a fair way to travel, and he's our Premier.
But others think he should cop the commute.
I understand about the commute business and the late at night and what have you, but hell, a lot of people do the same.
Roger Cook will retain his electorate office here in Kwinana and rent out his home in the area. But his move to West Perth has once again raised questions about whether he's planning to step down before the next election.
This is an opportunity to me to be able to focus even further on this role, which I've said I want to continue to play beyond the next election.
The Premier promising he'll still be in his electorate as often as possible. Nick Perpich, ABC News.
Police have charged a Scarborough man with murder after a 62-year-old man he's alleged to have attacked in Perth CBD died in hospital. Police say the 37-year-old assaulted the victim on Hay Street on Friday night. It's alleged the older man fell and struck his head on the pavement. The accused is facing 5 charges, including some relating to an earlier incident where police say he was involved in robbing another man. He's due to appear in court later this month. 2 climbers have been rescued by helicopter after falling on Bluff Knoll in the Great Southern. Authorities confirmed a 30-year-old woman and a 29-year-old man sustained serious but non-life-threatening injuries while climbing on Monday morning. A helicopter was sent to the scene where the climbers were winched out and flown to Albany for treatment. Authorities closed the Stirling Range National Park while the rescue was underway.
We had the reports that one person had fallen about 15 metres and the other was about 3 metres, but that was still enough to sustain some injuries. I'm not certain 100% of what the injuries are, but we believe that they're potentially a broken ankle and some shoulder injury of some description.
Hundreds of remote Northern Territory residents could be stranded in Darwin for weeks as a major flood emergency isolates entire towns in the top end. Palumpa residents had to be flown to safety, and in Daly River the water is still rising, while those in Katherine, where floodwaters are starting to recede, have spent the day assessing the damage left by a once in almost 30-year flood. After 3 days without food and a boil water alert in place, the local supermarket opened for a few hours this afternoon, but authorities are urging caution as emergency services work around the clock with more rain on the way.
We've got them sheltered for the short term. We've got them provisions provided for them for short term in Darwin, Katherine and Mataranka, but the long term will come up in the recovery phase.
Visitors to Victoria's Great Ocean Road will soon have to pay to see one of its greatest natural wonders after the state government announced plans to charge a tourist tax to see the 12 Apostles. It also plans to introduce a booking system to manage visitor numbers and avoid local facilities becoming overrun during peak times.
Tourists have been flocking to the 12 Apostles for generations to take in the beauty of Victoria's rugged coastline. But now they'll have to pay for the privilege.
Now we have to travel all the way here and then pay an extra fee as Australians. I think that's unfair.
We all need to contribute towards our beautiful national heritage, whether we come from far or near.
The state government has announced it will charge a fee to visit the new 12 Apostles Visitor Experience Centre, and is looking at a booking system to take pressure off the area at peak times.
That needs to be managed for that to be a good experience, particularly in peak times.
Locals and members of the Eastern Maar Indigenous community won't have to pay. But with more than 2 million visitors annually, finding a car park is already a trial.
It was horrific. I was here like 5 years ago showing another family friend around and we got a park within 2 seconds. And today we were in the overflow.
Tourism bodies have long advocated for a visitor fee. The state government previously rejected the idea of raising money through paid parking, but now says a tourist charge makes sense.
We've seen no diminution in visitations to Uluru, Kakadu and Cradle Mountain because of a reasonable charge that international tourists and Australian tourists expect to pay.
Because the Allan Labor government has mismanaged the books, mismanaged the budgets for a decade, Victorians are now going to have to pay an admission fee.
The state government will now negotiate with local tourism organisations and councils to set a price, which could be in place by the end of the year.
A small charge of, say, $15 to $50, and sometimes that's per carload, is sort of what the going rate is.
Natural wonders at a price. Olivia Sanders, ABC News.
In sport, the Matildas say they're frustrated with their performance in their final Women's Asian Cup group game, which has forced them to travel back to Perth for the knockout stage. Their 3-3 draw with South Korea in Sydney last night means they finished second in their group and will face either China or North Korea in the quarterfinals.
The Matildas are on the move again. Second spot in the group meant a 5-hour flight to Perth instead of staying in Sydney.
We're professional footballers. We know how to recover, to travel. We do it all the time in Europe.
There's no time to dwell on the frustration of the draw with the quarter-final quickly approaching.
We needed more goals. We didn't get them and, we're going another route. Simple as that.
Yu Jong driving into space. Australia needed to win to top the group, but the visitors struck first.
And it's a dream start.
The Matildas had a strong finish to the first half to take the lead.
First time finish, and she does so with aplomb.
But that momentum didn't continue, with South Korea scoring 2 quick goals after the break, and the Matildas threw away chances to hit back.
We didn't manage the moments well with the ball. That's the honest truth.
Defender turned midfielder Alana Kennedy scored a late equaliser, her 4th goal of the tournament.
I think you saw the Matildas' mentality at the end of the game, which is really pleasing. We'll bring that into the next match.
Steph Catley left the field early with a concussion and would be a big loss if she's ruled out. A tournament record crowd of over 60,000 people attended, with many fans likely to miss out at the 20,000-seat Perth Rectangular Stadium for Friday's quarter-final. Amanda Shalala, ABC News, Sydney.
Dockers Vice-Captain Andrew Brayshaw says the players are full of confidence they can achieve something special together ahead of their season opener against the Cats in Geelong. Fremantle has had a setback with Michael Frederick ruled out of Saturday's clash with a leg problem. But with a host of their players having committed to long-term deals with the Dockers, they believe they're capable of achieving big things together.
I don't think we all would have signed on if we didn't think that the next couple of years are going to be really exciting. In terms of external expectations, we try not to read it into it too much, but we're definitely aspiring to go further than we did last year.
Rugby league star Zach Lomax has turned his back on the NRL, switching codes to sign a 2-year deal with Super Rugby's Western Force. It comes after Lomax settled his legal dispute with Parramatta, which barred him from returning to the NRL without the Eels' consent before 2028, in the wake of the postponement of his move to breakaway competition R360. It makes Lomax eligible for the Wallabies at next year's Rugby World Cup and follows extended discussions between Lomax and the Force.
He came here with us, spent a few days with us here last year with his partner Kayla, and we continue to work with him and over the last little bit, and he's been really, really engaged, so we're pretty excited about this announcement.
Australian Grand Prix CEO says Formula One has given no indication that Melbourne may have to host an additional race this season due to the war in the Middle East. Organisers got straight to work on the 8-week pack-up of the Albert Park circuit following yesterday's season opener. There are growing concerns about the viability of upcoming races in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia next month as the conflict in the Middle East drags on. Formula One is expected to make a decision after this weekend's China Grand Prix.
From my perspective, F1 hasn't approached us about a second race. In fact, they haven't made any announcements about the cancellation of existing races, and so for us it's business as usual until something changes.
India has become the first nation to win back-to-back T20 Men's Cricket World Cups with a 96-run win over New Zealand in the final in Ahmedabad. Sanju Samson top-scored with 89 as the home team posted 5 for 255. The Black Caps were dismissed for 159 as India won the tournament for a record third time. A West Australian woman who made a move from the city to a farm for love is being celebrated as one of the country's top dog trainers. From her coastal property in the Great Southern, Courtney Moyer and her Border Collie Blossom have shown that juggling motherhood, farming and dog training is possible and full of purpose.
Gearing up for a day in the yards as national champions.
Good girl. I was shell-shocked when I found out that I won Muster Dog Season 4 and I lost for words.
The Great Southern WA farmer took out the top spot alongside her Border Collie Blossom, beating 5 other trainers and their pups.
And it was just so incredible and yeah, I'm so proud of myself for doing it and stepping out of my comfort zone.
After moving from the city to her husband's farm and starting their family, Courtney discovered her passion for dog training.
I did find the transition quite difficult, and through that I found working dogs to be my outlet and my hobby and something that would fill my cup and give me a bit of my own identity.
For Courtney, being on Muster Dogs wasn't just about testing her dog handling abilities. It was also about shining a spotlight on the isolation that women living in the country can face when they move to a farm. Courtney hopes sharing her story around motherhood will inspire other women to do the same.
I stopped doing things for me and caring for myself. So it was very difficult and taxing and just no self-love. I just, cracked a bit and there was not a lot of support out here for me. My family was far away and, this is all new.
But she discovered she's not alone.
I've had a lot of positive feedback, a lot of women messaging me and wanting to connect and just saying that they, have felt the same things.
From hardship, a new passion has blossomed. And this top dog is making sure life is as good as it can be. Kate Forrester, ABC News, Cape Rich.
Tabarak is back with us. It's been so humid recently.
Yes, I mean, you think yesterday was bad enough, Pamela, but today we had to endure more warm, muggy conditions, which definitely made it feel warmer than it was. But we still had some nice cloud formations this morning, and if you thought they looked cool during the day, I mean, check them out during sunset. How incredible does that look? So thank you all for your lovely photos, and please keep them coming. It was a warm, humid start to the day. Perth dropped to 22 degrees overnight, rising to a top of 30.6 at noon. It was also fairly warm across the southern half overnight, but there were some cool spots over in the southwest. Manjimup got down to 13 degrees, while Bridgetown dropped to 10. Meanwhile, places further inland sweated through very hot conditions today. Mount Magnet Airport got to 45 degrees, the hottest in the state. On the satellite, the main activity is still across the tropical north, where showers and storms are continuing due to a trough running from the Kimberley district through the top end and to a low off the coast of southeast Queensland. Meanwhile, a trough in WA will continue to move east, and that's shifting the heat eastwards with it. And as it clears into South Australia tomorrow, we'll have a weak cold front crossing the south coast, which will bring cooler winds and light showers to the southern half. A new ridge will also be strengthening, which will result in freshening southwest to southeasterly surge. Around the country tomorrow, sunny at 32 in Adelaide, mostly sunny at 29 in Canberra, also getting to 29 in Melbourne, cloud clearing there, and a shower or two forecast for the remaining capitals. Back home, there's a chance of showers and storms over the far north and west Kimberley, northeast and central Pilbara and the adjacent northwest north interior. But otherwise, it's looking mostly sunny and warm tomorrow, becoming windy over the southwest Pilbara and for central parts of the state, especially along the coast. Shower or two is also possible over parts of the goldfields, while the Midwest and the wheat belt will see partly cloudy conditions and much milder temperatures around the mid-20s. Further south, it's also going to be much cooler tomorrow, a top of 21 in Bridgetown and Pemberton, 19 in Albany and Ravensthorpe. Light falls are also forecast over the district, about 1 to 10 millimetres possible for some spots. In Perth tomorrow, we're finally back into the 20s. Partly cloudy conditions tomorrow with a slight chance of a shower, heading for a forecast max of 25 degrees from a low of 17. On local waters, winds will be southerly 20 to 30 knots, shifting southeasterly in the late evening with seas up to 2.5 metres. The sun will rise at 6 and set at 6:41. And then looking ahead, it's mostly sunny and 26 on Wednesday and Thursday, with cooler minimums of 13 on the cards too. Partly cloudy and 28 on Friday, and then back into the 30s this weekend, Pamela.
Thanks for that, Tabarak. That's ABC News for now. We'll be back with you tomorrow, but you can catch the news anytime on ABC iView. Stay with us for 7:30.